we rely a lot on video editors, for
Right.
example, for producing content for ourselves, for our clients, etc. Right? So I mean, what would take what would take, just from a time and a cost perspective, what would take, let's say, for example, let's take this podcast episode which is being shot right now, right, to edit this and then have it repurposed into multiple frames for, let's say, YouTube, for shorts, for those audio only channels, stuff like that. It would easily take 2 to 3 weeks, easily, for one episode. Okay, in before today, because there's auto editing and cuts, right? Automatically cuts or editing happens again up to an acceptable level. There is a human intervention required at some point,
Right.
but AI gets it around 80% right now. Okay, same for, let's say, for example, color grading, audio enhancement, stuff like that. Again, you, instead of you painstakingly sitting and doing color grading for each and every frame across the channel, stuff like that, for a video, now AI will give you around 80 to 90% accuracy. You can just basically come ahead, do a little bit of manual audio tweaking, a little bit of color correction, you're done, right?
Exactly.
So essentially, your junior level video editors, stuff like that, either I see that essentially them getting replaced in larger organizations. Okay, and sort of this being, again, like we are seeing similar theme what Akash was talking about, that we will see a few video editors handling way more projects now, simply because it's become faster. So obviously there will be attrition over there, right? But let's say, for example, when, because of these automated tasks happening again and again and being sort of can be now just automated, the busy work, so to speak. But what will be basically what will still be a requirement, okay, and what video editors can potentially pivot to, right, is essentially storytelling, and sequencing now becomes very important.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
about Geo Hotstar. We were talking about Geo Hotstar. So GeoStar essentially, I think in one of the highlight packages for an IPL match which I was watching, okay, uh, Ajinkya Rahane scores a 50, okay, at a particular timestamp, okay, and at the next timestamp, the partner, whoever he was batting with, hits a six. But if you take a look at the score, at that time, Ajinkya Rahane is still on 49. So
Hmm.
essentially, this is sort of the limitations of AI that still has, and it requires curation and oversight from a human
Right.
still. So that is
Right.
what a very good example of a limitation for AI. So basically, for video editors, people, they'll have to improve their storytelling skills. They'll have to, how can this, all these things, yes, AI is doing all my busy work, but essentially, what is the overall big picture? What is the video? What is the movie? What is the overall big picture? And what are we trying to communicate? What's the point? What's the
Fair.
climax? Right?
Fair.
What do we want the audience to feel when they watch this? This sort of thinking is going to become very important for video editors, right? Overall creative control, style of the, how, what kind of style shots should be there, how should they be edited, right? What kind of cuts should be brought in, okay?
Hmm.
So instructing the AI that I want these kind of cuts, this is essentially where the video editors are going to require. And again, like we said, quality check from my example. And like, this is a very good example of somebody who's already pivoted. Like, I was in a AI agent webinar a few days back, and they were talking about one of their students who was a photo, like he used a studio, like for e-commerce, he used to do these profile shots for products and stuff like that. He took on this agentic AI course, and he's now produced an agent that essentially replicates essentially what he used to do. So you can come in, you can say, for example, put in your products, put in like transparent photos or taken on your iPhone or something like that, and just upload it onto the drive, and the product will now produce multiple backgrounds for your products. Whatever kind of backgrounds you want, the agent will sort of prepare it for you, generate it for you, and put it in the back, right? And then you can choose to sort of have a little bit of human intervention and stuff like that also. So that's essentially a good example of how to pivot and remain relevant in your particular role in the future. Yeah.
No, fair point, fair point. And yeah, so it's not all gloom and doom. It
Yeah.
I was
there
just
will
thinking
be,
that.
yeah, there will be roles that will be eliminated. But I think, like I said before, it's happened in the past. AI is another cycle of new tech or a new way of working coming in, where there are roles like for example, people keep talking about the postman, going out of this because the email came in. People don't want to write letters anymore. So while that sort of what do you say, while that sort of churn will happen in roles, I think AI will also lead to a lot more new roles. Prompt
Mhm.
engineering has become a thing, for example, and I'm sure we'll be able to see a lot newer roles coming up, which people can then upskill for. It's about more about the willingness, like Tanay pointed out, to pivot rather than the worry that whatever I do will not be relevant anymore. It will be relevant, maybe just in a different shape and form.